Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to look at the 3R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. We're also going to review photosynthesis and cellular respiration, and we're going to take a look at global warming. Conservation, the wise and careful use of resources through environmental stewardship. In other words, the word conserve means to save, so we want to save as much of our resources as we can, and that is our job. That is what we should be doing. And the bad news is 20% of the world's population uses more than half of the world's resources. So here in the United States, we use more than our fair share of the resources that's available to the world. If we were to reduce, reuse, and recycle, our resources would last a lot longer. So let's look at each one of these. Reduce. Reduce means don't use it as often. Try to cut down on some of the usage. We don't need to use it all the time on some of the materials. When we do use it, we want to reuse it. We want to use it over and over and over until it's damaged or no longer usable, or maybe you could give it to someone else. And then once it's no longer usable, maybe it's broken, then we want to recycle it. We want to melt it down, make a new product with it, but recycle it. And if we do all of this, then we could sustain the resources. In other words, we could last for many, many generations into the future with what we have today. Is it sustainable? The carbon cycle, if you remember from a previous lesson, all living things have carbon in them. And when all living things go through cellular respiration, they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Plants have a unique property where they can go through photosynthesis and they can actually take carbon out of the air. So all of this is a part of the carbon cycle. As we just said, plants go through photosynthesis. That's why you see the arrows on the right-hand side over here, with the arrows going into the tree. Carbon is going into the tree because of photosynthesis. But since all living things go through cellular respiration, you also see some arrows going out of the tree. As you see the raccoon in the car, you only have arrows going away because with the case of the raccoon, he's going through cellular respiration, so he's giving off carbon dioxide, but he doesn't go through photosynthesis, so there's no arrows going to him. In the case of the car, of course, is burning fossil fuels, and that's putting carbon into the air. But the car does not go through photosynthesis, so it's not going into the car. Both plants and animals go through cellular respiration. All living things go through cellular respiration. Even bacteria goes through cellular respiration. So anytime carbon dioxide goes in and oxygen comes out, we call it photosynthesis. Plants do this. Anytime oxygen goes in and carbon dioxide comes out, we call it cellular respiration. All living things go through cellular respiration. Here's the equation for photosynthesis. This is not a balanced chemical equation, and what I mean by that is matter cannot be created or destroyed. And if you look at the left-hand side of the equation, we have one carbon, where if you look at the right-hand side, we have 6. So it's not balanced, but the equation is still accurate except for it being balanced. So in photosynthesis equation, we have carbon dioxide and water, and with the help of light energy and chlorophyll, it produces glucose and oxygen. So this is the photosynthesis equation. The opposite of photosynthesis is cellular respiration. And again, this equation is not balanced. We have 6 carbons on the left, 1 on the right. But in cellular respiration, we have glucose and oxygen, and they produce carbon dioxide and water and ATP energy in cellular respiration. If you can remember one equation, you pretty much have both equations, because where one equation ends, the other one begins. Or as we like to say, the products of one equation are the reactants of the other. So if you look at the top equation, this is the photosynthesis equation. The reactants are always on the left-hand side, and we call them reactants because they react with each other. So carbon dioxide reacts with water to form the right-hand side. The right-hand side is called the products. We call it products because it's something you produce. So on the right-hand side, we have glucose and oxygen. Now, if you look at the bottom equation, this is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration starts where photosynthesis left off. So the products of photosynthesis are the reactants of cellular respiration. Global warming. Global warming is the gradual increase in the average global temperature. A lot of my students each year ask me, Mr. West, do you believe in global warming? Well, we've been monitoring temperatures for quite a while, and over the last 100 years, the average temperature on the planet has gone up by 1 degree Celsius. So the data does show that we are warming. We are increasing in temperature. The common belief that most scientists have that's causing the global warming are greenhouse gases. There are different types of greenhouse gases we'll go over in a minute, but right now I want to talk about carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide levels we've been looking at really intensely since 1958, and we have some numbers here that carbon dioxide levels are going up. And as you'll see in a minute, so when carbon dioxide levels go up, temperature has a tendency to go up as well. So this is what's concerning the scientists, is the carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide is not the only greenhouse gas. And what we mean by greenhouse gas, greenhouse gases trap the heat. So instead of the heat being able to escape Earth, it's trapped in the Earth's atmosphere, so it heats up the planet. Here's the average carbon dioxide levels for the last 50 years. You can see it's increasing, and the reason it's increasing is because of industry. We burn fossil fuels, and fossil fuels contain carbon dioxide. So when we burn the fossil fuel, it puts it into the atmosphere. So if you look at the temperature and you look at the carbon dioxide levels, as you can see, when carbon dioxide levels go up, temperature goes up. And this is what scares many scientists, because carbon dioxide levels are still going up. And so you can naturally concur that if carbon dioxide continues to go up, then the temperature will go up as well. Notice it says here that not all scientists agree. Most scientists agree with this here. There are some scientists who have other theories as to what's causing the temperature to rise on the planet. One of the theories is with sunspots. When the sunspots are facing the Earth, the temperature tends to go up. But most scientists agree with the global warming being caused by greenhouse gases. So here's some other examples of greenhouse gases. We have water, methane, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, chlorofluorocarbons. The reason we concentrate mostly on carbon dioxide is because we have more carbon dioxide than the rest of them. So carbon dioxide is the one that we typically look at in science classes. As I said earlier, that greenhouse gases traps the heat. As you can see, the sun is putting heat toward the Earth, and the heat is trying to escape, but the greenhouse gases won't allow it to escape, so the atmosphere kind of traps the heat, and the temperature on the planet goes up. If all the ice caps melted in the United States, would look like this here. So if all the ice caps melted on the planet, the United States, we believe, would look like this here with the sea level rising. The IPCC is a network of 70 countries who report to each other the average temperatures, how much the sea level has risen. They all get together to predict human influences and how it will continue and what our future is going to be like if we continue going down the same path. The Kyoto Protocol is called that because it occurred in Japan, and the goal is to reduce carbon dioxide levels. That was the goal. And the question I usually get asked, Mr. West, was it successful? Depends on how you look at it. The bad news is carbon dioxide levels are still going up, but the good news is that there's a lot of emphasis now from several countries to increase their study on renewable energy. If we were to switch to renewable energy, for example, solar energy and wind energy and other types of renewables, then the carbon dioxide levels eventually would not continue to go up anymore. So you could look at it, well, we are now putting more emphasis on renewable energy, so it was successful because it did get us thinking toward that. But you could also argue that it didn't work because carbon dioxide levels were still going up.